Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring you another evening of AOR League Racing to you. And we have reached the third last race in Saudi Arabia for race 14 out of 16, with the Abu Dhabi next up and the finale in Brazil. My name is Hermann the German as always, and we are having, as per usual, our looks at lineups at the track map and the standings later on. There's a new face on the roster for this season's AOR, and it's in the form of Chris Keff in the Haas. Has replaced the blacklisted Funanana, who is the only driver for Haas to have scored some points, and that was back in race 2 in Belgium. The others have not updated. Pedro is officially out, but will probably race today, so let's see what is gonna develop there for tonight. And reserve drivers have stayed the same. And then there's a look at the track map for today's race at Jeddah, the Jeddah Corniche circuit with 3 DRS zones. Originally, there was one between the turns of 12 and 13 before the first ever official race in 2021 was ever held, and Cody's deciding that that would be a great DRS zone. And to be honest, personally, didn't mind it, but usually there were not really fights going in there because you would lose so much time behind cars in the first sector anyway. And you have to play it very strategic in the current on the current version of it, which still looks like a butter knife, and has 27 turns on display, and is the most and the second fastest on average, the first fastest street track there is. And we will be looking for overtakes into turn 22, into 27, and of course into turn 1 and 4. And let's see who can avoid the skating curbs at the exit of 8 and on the outside of turn 9. And we have the race result from last time out, where Cypher took a last lap win against Tezik, who was has found himself again in a situation where he was fighting for the win for the whole duration of the final stint, as well as he did in China. And he has now officially put a better result in for his season with this second place. And there was Max Duker on back-to-back podiums. No, that's not true. He wasn't on a podium for China, so that was the race before. Sorry. And that's 2 in 3 races then. Tudor took 4th after finishing first in China. Good and strong result again. And McLaren once again did not convert a good qualifying position with 3rd and 4th, locking out the second row of the grid into something that was very commendable to watch, and especially with Cypher pulling some weight now. It's more both of the Bulls teams against each other for second position, despite Glücksburner having retired a long season ago. Solid Ninja Snake 6, Tobias was 7, Gabriel only 8th, Robert was the last finisher, and he came with the fastest lap as well. Rivershan and Byrne retired early in that race, as we once again had low attendance. And the current World Championship looks like this. Rising Moon has claimed World Champion in Spain already 3 races ago. And you can see that, Max Duker did only claim that first podium of the season at all in Austria, sorry. You can see that Terzic has claimed 3rd officially now, after Kramer has not raced. And Austrian only scored 1 point in China after first lap collision. So Terzic clawing some points back. China and Austria, he took advantage over Karim's results there, despite not scoring for the first time in Spain as he was absent. No, he retired, sorry. And yeah, they are still in a fight for points. Separate these two for P2. And other than that, Solid Ninja Snake has solidified himself in 6, but Max Tuka is now on the charge. Even after strong China, Max is closing in on the bridge. Cypher is now into the top 8 with 4 positions gained after his first win. As you can see, he was twice on the podium already, and he has been scoring big in terms of his 4 race attendance. He was scoring strong there. Tudor with another good showing, 1 position down, but still outscoring Tobias there, so that the lead has been claimed. And other than that, Gabriel has moved past you, who has not been there with us for some time now. And Robert is still somehow close behind the second Lebanese driver. And let's see who else can bring some points to the table. We are close to the start of the session, but we will be looking at the Constructors' Championship now, and you can see Racing Bull is now ahead by 5 points of Red Bull, with Cypher obviously having to run the team on his own. McLaren has not outscored Red Bull by a significant margin over the last 5 races to close in the gap even more. Williams with a good showing is probably going to stay in 5th. Not so many points currently, as the form curve is not really suggesting that they will outpace McLaren. 5 points between Ferrari and Aston, so it's 2 against Tobias in the drivers and in the constructors basically. Alpine on 34 and 33 for Sauber, and Haas is still on 2. Don't expect to change that much very soon, but I am open to see what Chris can do, as we are looking into the lobby before the start of the of this race, and we can see how about we all go 50-50 on the wings. Don't think that's gonna be happening. Tudor, our coordinator, is as always here. Rising Moon is back after being absent last week, as well as Solid Ninja Snake. Pedro's back for Ferrari. Tobias is there as well. That's 2 full teams. Robert is here. His in-game name is Project Race GP. Tesik is here once again. Hopes to find a win in the last 3 races of this season. Aerodynamic for Kicksauber. He's gonna have it very tough if his current pace prediction is gonna stay the same. McLaren with Karim and Gabriel. That's the 3rd full team, as Max completes Williams as the 4th full team. Haas with Chris on his debut, as I said, is a friend of Robert. And Byrne is here again for Alpine. And Tobias I already put down. And we are already ticking down the seconds. To get into our usual 18 minutes of qualifying for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. I don't expect rain, although I've seen rain come down on this track in league races. And we are inside of the pit building now. And we're gonna have telemetry and lap time enabled. Let's see if Horizon Moon decides to start from the black once again, has done so in his last two appearances, where he decided to call it a day in terms of qualifying and technically handing a pole position to everyone else inside the lobby. And in terms of tracks, he even made it to the top. Almost back to back after he was had a collision in Spain with Tiesek late into the race. So the race before that, he completed the last to first, and that was Portugal. Last lap or second to last lap, he made a move on Cypher to beat him down to second position. Oh, we have no track map. There's still no hotkey for that, unfortunately. So, Codis, if you're listening, the M button on the keyboard would be very nice for map. But, yeah, don't take anything from me, as I'm just not enough experienced to make these suggestions. This is a joke. I'm well enough experienced to say something about this. And we have a bundle of cars heading out of the pit lane, including Pedro, his teammate, and that's Robert. Yeah. They're all sorting themselves out. As we have the Alpine of Bern starting off our qualifying. Already 2 minutes off the clock, and there's a Mercedes in the background. That can only be solid Ninja Snake, as Horizon Moon is still in the pit lane. And before we watch more, I'm just gonna readjust the volume of the microphone. Okay. Tudor already on a flyer. Gabriel Karim, as well as Max Duca. All inside the first sector. Aerodynamics is coming over the line now for his first attempt. Sector 1, the technical bit, where you really can see how much downforce these people are running. And that is obviously the only part really where you can get away from someone behind you. And there is no DRS until the third, the end of the second sector really. So there's a huge chunk on this track on lap 2 where you still can get away with. And if you master the opening lap and can stay ahead by, let's say, 7 to 8 tenths, and you can extend the gap into the start of the second lap, then you are good to go and probably outside of what is usual DRS trains around here. And I have notes about how the overcut is gonna be very strong here. Solid Ninja Snake is in second with Kaim going to first. Gabriel over the line as well. Takes first as the provisional pole position time. Tudor's lap is invalidated. There's Max Duca after that goes to second, and these people are close. 28.2.2.2 on the opening attempt, as there's a 30.3 unfortunately. And Rising Moon is out and on the track, so there's a high chance that pole position is going in his favor. And as you can see, the smoke is still not fixed. I hope there's a patch on Monday, because this is ridiculous in terms of visibility. Even on low particles on PC, it's horrendous, as Robert goes to a 28.7 and Pedro goes to a 28.6. What can Tobias do? That's 37. 30.7. That's quite far off, but as we all know, it's probably not about top speed, it's about balance, how much you are compromising in Sector 1. As Tesi goes to 28.4 and makes the top 4 even closer. As you watch the end of Rising Moon's lap, heading into the third sector now. No bonus slipstream for his second DRS zone, and he's now blasting out the rest of this ERS, and he goes to what is at the moment P6, 28.6, and Tudor is into the pits after having 28.6 invalidated both of his runs. And a quick check. As we watch Chris Cave's first laps inside of the AOR Tier 1. Max Verpool says Milan. Yeah, he's not too far off. 20 thousandths of a second. And then 4 thousandths of a second in front of the next McLaren, as he's currently in a McLaren sandwich. 32.4 is the first segment, the first sector in terms of time for Chris. Haas haven't been running a competitive car all season, as he takes a lot of curb, but his car remains stable. That's always a good sign. Studer's out once again. 1 minute 1.2. Smells to me like a mid 28, which would be around P6. It's still close. Biggest gap right now is between P8 and P9. Still some ERS left for Chris, so that is maybe something he needs to be looking at. 28.7, so it's very close to Burn and Robert. 4 tenths ahead of Solid Ninja Snake, and that's a P9 as of right now, and it isn't too shabby. Second out up apparently here for the Alpine of Burn. Tudor's already out again. Gabriel, Karim. Let's go with Karim on his second attempt here, halfway through the session. The Lebanese cousin pairing for the McLaren outfit in the inside of this season. And he takes a lot of curb on both sides of the first turn chicane. Misses a bit of the apex, and that is immediately invalid. So let's go to his teammate. Out of curb taken here. Doesn't run too wide on the exit, but still uses the maximum width of the track inside of turn 3. Does a better job of avoiding track limits in 4. Runs the skating curb just for a brief moment. Uses all of the entry curb for that is turn 11, and now into turn 13, where you do this 180-degree turn to run the track back on itself, and have the fast and fun bits coming up just after this, what I call the Canada chicane, because it really reminds me of the chicane where Giovinazzi had a crash in 2021, I think. Not sure. And he is currently a 10th up, but he loses the car. That is certainly his advantage gone. But he's getting a slipstream from his teammate and has an invalid lap time, and that's probably gonna give him some sort of a boost back. Fortunately, we don't see a delta on his screen. And is he gonna finish off this lap with 8 minutes to go? He is not. He has aborted this attempt. But Max Duca is coming up to the line now, and he has found some time. Yes, he did! 1.5 tenths, and currently on pole position, it's the Italian driver of Max Duca, who is already into his 50s on pole position. What an effort. He said it himself on the broadcast last time out, so I'm just using information I've been given anyway. 50 years and on pole position in AOR, that's something not a lot of people over 50 have on their resume. As there's a 29.555 for aerodynamics, as Chris goes to a 28.4, and he has found something inside of his lap that was worth 0.3 of a second with 7 minutes to go. The debutant is up the order inside the top 5, as Tudor's official first lap was a 30.001. Could have saved that 1,000 of a second. As he's coming over the line now, that looks faster than a 30.0, and it's indeed a 28.4. So another contender at the top of the field, and the field is thinly spread. Half a second to P8, 1 second to P11, as Karim goes even faster than Max Duca on a 28.068. Let's see who is next. I think Tesik that is, yeah, because the Williams is just heading into the pits. That was Max Duca. Let's see what the US American can do inside of the Red Bull. Puts an improvement that was... Oh, Pedro! Out of nowhere! After one strong performance in Portugal, he just showed up again and puts it into provisional pole position. What an attempt! What an effort! First guy to be below the 28s. 1 minute 27.904. What an effort! And Ferrari is gonna be delighted, although the other driver is finishing off this Ferrari sandwich as he's currently in 13th. They should put setup share on and see what it brings for Tobias, who's just starting another attempt with 5 minutes to go. That's hardly any extra time for him at the end of this attempt, because then it's going to be tight in terms of the clock, and he needs a good attempt now. He's currently, how much is it? 2.3, 2.4 seconds basically off, and he invalidates the lap time. The car does not seem to be with him. Gabriel has invalidated his lap time. Byrne is coming out. Weismund did not put a second attempt in so far, as Robert is starting. Maybe one of his final attempts now. Not sure, maybe people have had an invalidation and returned to the pits earlier. So that looks like they are on an out of sync last attempt now. Maybe they have enough fuel to go again, because track limits are a problem on this track, especially turn 1. Sector 1, sorry. Turn 1, depends. Oh, and that's a huge wild moment! And he's not out of the session, but has major front wing damage. In fact, he has no more front wing on his car, and Robert is not gonna be happy with that. Too much rotation over the curb. There's no grip on these curbs, especially these ones where it's just a bit higher, where they're just a bit lifted. As you can see here, this one is a bit lifted, and this one on the inside of 11 is lifted, and then the outside of 12 that is not even as high as the one where Mick Schumacher in 2022 skid over and had a huge crash. And now Byrne over and into the Canada chicane. The second. How many chicanes are there in Canada? Turns 1 and 2 don't count. 1, 2. chicane number 3. Looks very similar if you just reimagine it. And he is 2 tenths down with 3 minutes to go. He cannot jump into the pits and try again. He needs to find some pace inside of this final sector to make a jump. And currently a 10 would promote him to P8. And he has aborted this one, and that is it for Bern. No more attempts for the Brazilian, and that is gonna leave him in P9. And we have aerodynamics, the Croatian, and our Romanian driver in 2 are out on track, so both of the green cars are out. And having some final laps, final attempts early. As we are approaching the 2-minute mark and people need to start getting out now. We have Gabriel out. We have Solid Ninja Snake out. There is Chris. I am seeing Tobias, I hope at least. Yes, there's the outlap symbol. 1 minute 50. This track is 1:30. There's 1 minute 50 basically required for a fast lap. And Pedro is maybe the last of the drivers who can make it, because look at where Max Duca is coming out with 1 minute 37 on the clock. This is basically a 10-second buffer. You need to race fast. You cannot wait. Don't be on 0 in terms of management. It's a very slow lap for aerodynamics. I hope he's not killing his... Oh, he has killed his tire attempts. It's around 66 on his steering wheel. That's not gonna make turn 1 very easy. Why is he not warming his tires? And he goes so slow on the final turn. There needs to be an improvement by some margin. And with that I mean over 7 tenths to find a gain of 1 position. And I really hope he had a big mess up on his lap so that he can find that. And Tobias, who is 7 tenths behind that. The 2 biggest gaps as of right now are outside of the top 10. He's gonna be the first one probably. Finishes off. Yeah, if he completes his lap. Uses the extra bit of ERS available, and he's 3 tenths up on his time. And there is a fast McLaren behind who's gonna benefit with a bit of slipstream. Drivers have reported in 2019 that the effect of dirty air was kicking in at around 5 seconds behind the car. And that was when we had these high red cars. 3 tenths found. And obviously you can reverse that for slipstream. Although dirty air is somewhat reduced by the cars. Burnover is over. Tobias is over. Has not completed a lap. Inside of the pit lane is only 13th at max. And now aerodynamics goes over the line. Stays on 12. Gabriel goes to his 27.6. Who's the next over the line? That was Solid Ninja Snake, only in 11th. What's with Chris? He's into 3rd, also into the 27th. What is with Desik? He goes to 2nd position. What a lap. Invalid again for the Romanian driver. Has not found his luck with track limits. Only 7th for Rising Moon. What is with Pedro? Goes to 2nd again. Beats Tesik to the line. Now we have Karim. And Max Duca, I think, is right behind that. Goes to what is 4th position. Max stays down. In 6th now. Has been out qualifying his teammate again, who was in 10th after having another invalidation. Wow. Where's the moon? No quali pace. Tudo had 3 invalidations. What a grid for the race. Gabriel takes a pole position in Saudi, but has not emerged on the podium as of right now. Pedro back with a less than a tenth behind him. Tesik third, Karim fourth, Chris on debut in fifth, Max Duca sixth, Rising Uni seventh, Tudor eighth, Burn ninth, Robert, Solid Ninja Snake, and then with Aerodynamics as well as Tobias. And that was very unsatisfying for Robert once again. We are heading for a quick break before we head into the race. And we are inside of a formation lab. And that is obviously our chance to look at our tire choices for today. Just give me 1 second, need to readjust something here. Yes, okay, sorry. And very good. So, tire choices and what we can expect here. We have the following range. C4 to C2, which usually means the C2 is very good. Will last the whole race. And that is the case for here today. But we see one driver has opted for the soft tire, and that is Rising Moon. Maybe he's just gonna have some fun here. But yeah, as I said before, he's the confirmed champion. And we have hard tires for Chris, Robert, and Aerodynamics. Sorry, wrong guy. The rest is on the medium tire. As I said, the overcut is probably gonna be one of the strongest parts here today, because people are fighting a lot on this track. Like Monza, if you stay behind, you charge your ERS battery, you can easily overtake with the slipstream, even without burning a lot of ERS, if you don't have misjudged the overall downforce level completely. Same as with Austria, Miami, all these tracks, China as well. If you have enough downforce to hold on to the guy in front of you to stay within his DRS, you're gonna recharge your battery, or at least even overtake them on the main straights, on these tracks I just mentioned. And this is probably gonna be yeah, the most deciding factor in terms of how these guys set up their cars and how they sacrifice downforce or top speed, vice versa, for that first sector. We have 5 red lights and they are already out, and we are heading to turn 1 as there's already a defensive move from Gabriel to cover off Pedro, and there's a collision. There was Tesig on the outside, and there's calamity again for Gabriel, who defended from the Ferrari driver, who is now back into 4th position as they all squander 4 position ahead into turn 4. Tudor up into 3rd, Max into 2nd. Gabriel had a poor getaway and that made himself vulnerable to the inside of Pedro, and then he just completely shut the door on him with Tesig being on the outside, and he's close. He's close to getting out of the 1 second. He has already breached that, and we are only on lap 1. So there's no chance of DRS until we reach this part of the track in 1 lap time, as Rising Moon is fighting Robert, who had a great start because he avoided all of that. With Tobias now fighting 11th placed Aerodynamics, and is already lost touch with Solid Ninja Snake, who is also in that group of cars that is currently led by Max Zucker, because his opportunity for DRS is already gone here. As I'm just gonna re-enable ERS for you to see what kind of performance Tesig has been putting up. And he has used all of his battery basically on this lap. Half the battery for the top 2 drivers, and if I can say that, it has not helped Max Duke. I think everyone is kind of expecting a safety car, that's why they are running low or close to low in terms of fuel. And I'm very surprised that Pedro did not suffer damage and hasn't lost any of these positions. Did he reset to track? Or is there damage to the front of his car? There is no damage. That completely baffles me. That didn't look like that at all. And the top... top 2 to P10 are all technically in a train. Well, they are in a train. That's how train works. That's how the train works. Byrne is fighting Chris with the medium tire. He obviously has an advantage for cornering, grip, and exit speed. As now Gabriel is back into 12th position. As Aerodynamics is fighting these cars. I think that wasn't the smartest move. He needed to be fast, and he is not using any of his ERS. Please turn on your ERS, mate. Hello. Ding, ding, ding. Is there anyone home? Please turn on your ERS. You are going slower than the others. Turn on your UI elements as well. Tesig is taking this quite fast, and he said that he saw this racetrack as the only opportunity to get another win. If he would not win today, I think he has in his mind closed off the possibility of having a win inside of the season. So Rising Moon is fighting Pedro for 4th, making use of these soft tires, the only one to be on them. Obviously has a huge chance of an undercut in terms of going to the hard tires. But if they, and I don't know if they will, last long enough, he can go to the mediums. Usually don't. It's a C4 track. It's not a C3. So we have to wait and see. Max is still keeping Tesig honest, because he's still right around that 1 second window, and you can see the visual gap isn't that big. But the biggest problem Max is going to be having soon is this green Aston Martin, as Kaim is taking Robert into what is now turn 28, and now there's a change for P2, and this fighting is what Tesig is gonna be taking advantage of soon, as Karim has also overtaken Burn after passing Robert. And that's a double overtake inside of 2 DRS zones. And Solid Ninja Snake is losing the back of the queue fast, as this battling has now enabled a gap between P5 and P6. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, there's a slide on the curb for Karim. And he might be vulnerable to Burn now. Who's taking it slow? There is still no EIS switches. Aerodynamics, please. Please turn on your EIS. Don't you know where the UI elements are? He's just gonna... This is just a tire test for him. As Tesik has lost the advantage yet, because Tuda has now opened up and volunteered to be the chain inside of the... what? No, has offered up to be a new part of this chain and re-enabling the top 5 to be inside of the DS chain, and Rising Moon is gonna love this. Because obviously he does not need to use his tires too much to gain an advantage. So he can play it cool, doesn't need to push that much. Studa has taken the fastest lap, he has pushed on to make it work, and Max is benefiting from that, so he won't be too sad about how he lost that position, because it's basically enabling him more. And Robert has been taken off the track by Chris. I thought I saw that, because it looked like that Chris was about to have a big moment in terms of locking up into 2-1, and Aerodynamics has called it a day. And there's a 3-second time penalty for Burn, and as he went off the track as well. Why did Aerodynamic... Oh, please don't tell me he retired because he thought he couldn't keep up. Oh my god. Burn is 2 seconds behind. And now this battle is obviously re-enabled Gabriel to be inside of this chain. Robert is fighting the outside of Solid Ninja Snake. Let's see if Tudor can do anything about the lead of the race, as he's well and truly inside of the DS chain into that lovely slipstream of the Red Bull driver ahead. Let's see if there are position changes here at the back. Solid Ninja Snake oh, and another collision. Goes to the inside of Robert and has a spin. As he's now recovered and continued his journey as the new P12. And there's a 3-second time penalty for our debutant. And there's a 3-second time penalty for the bias, who is usually good with tech limits. Who was that in turn 1? Wait, Chris. Chris and his mate Robert, who got him into this. He said he was excited to race, but I think they will have an argument, maybe a dispute about how that turn 1 on the previous lap worked out for them. And with that I mean did not. And there's a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane because Rising Moon has pulled the undercut. Rising Moon has pulled the undercut. Check the Gap to the leader, 19 seconds. That is currently very much doable. And the Mercedes, who are confirmed Constructors World Champions, are currently the only ones without points. Technically, Tobias is behind Solid Ninja Snake because of the time penalty. I think there's no move coming here from Robert. And Gabriel is trying to open... Karim is trying to open up the gap. As the top 4 have remained the same. As they head into turn... Oh, there was a slow exit. Very right moment there from Tesik, and Tudor could be changing the lead of the race, but there's no DS. Why is there no DS for him? Huh? He did not use DS? There was no green border around the telemetry tool at the bottom. And Karim has received a 3-second time penalty, and Max Stucker was also very wide there. So we have Solid Ninja Snake also with a 3-second time penalty. And Project Race GP, it's Robert with a 3-second time penalty. And there's an oversteer moment from Max Stucker, who is now losing touch to Tudor. And that opens an opportunity for Pedro, because in a 1v1 you are obviously advantageous over the guy who just lost the DS, because he has no extra power on his shades. You can easily attack, as Tudor is charging his battery as well as Tesik did that the previous attempts. Did not look like any of these drivers wanted to attack. Let's have a look at the gap, as Tesik is now being overtaken before turn 27. And oh, and there's a spin! Almost a collision. Almost a collision. Tudor spins out at the exit of the last corner, and we saw there briefly that Rising Moon is opening that gap for the undercut, as his teammate is fighting Tobias into turn 27. Did I see damage on one of the top running cars? No, no. I thought I did. I'm still surprised how Pedro has no damage. What about Burn here? No attack here. And Tobias is behind. So these are eventually... These top 4 drivers are eventually looking at who is gonna pit first. And Karim has another 3-second time penalty in a quick succession. Sorry. English is hard. And yeah, at this rate he's gonna have double-digit time penalties. Obviously, if you look at it, if you are inside the chain and the guy in front of you pits and you lose DS to that guy who is now your next rival in front of you, let's say Tudor has Max Duca now, but from Tesik he also has DS as of right now. You should stay out and use this extra slipstreaming, because that's 6, maybe even more on this track, 10's worth of lap time. And the overcut is strong if people battle too much, and Rising Moon is closing in on the guys in front of him, and as this response says, 18.5 seconds. He is currently the leader of the race. As Gabriel is fighting Robert, and Tobias is into the pit lane. And that is probably Hearts here as well, yes. They are. Quick reminder that Chris, Robert, and well, officially Aerodynamics started on a hard tire. So Max Ducker is now again trying to stay within The Diaz of Tezik has lost a bit here. I think if Tezik wanted to push, he could push more. Let's recharge his battery. Is Gabriel gonna take burn into turn 22? The Lebanon against Brazil. The walking outfit. Oh no, sorry, that's Aston Martin. In stone, and I forgot where McLaren is based, fuck. And Robert is also has overtaken Byrne for what is now P8. And both of them have time penalties. And there is a pit stop by Max Duker, by Tudor, by Pedro, and by Kaim. So Tezik is doing the overcut. Let's see where Rising Moon is coming out compared to these. And he has jumped them all, it seems. But the first turn is a shortcut by any of these drivers. And he is in front by roughly a second. And that was around a 17-second pit stop time loss, which is, if you don't know it, not the same as the actual pit time. Because you cut a bit of the inside of turn 1, you gain a bit back, despite obviously being the main straight being taken at roughly 300 plus kph compared to the pit lane and its entry by 80. And you can see that roughly 18 seconds is the gap where Tezik is going to find himself in, and that might be just in front of Tudor and behind Solid Ninja Snake. And yeah, that undercut has worked. See what the response is. Tezik stays out. Does not think it's worth it. Gabriel thinks it's worth it now. So we're just gonna keep these gaps on, as Chris and now Robert are fighting for what is officially now at the moment P2. I think Solid Ninja Snake doesn't have the pace. And Rising Moon has received a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. He's now on 13 seconds because of his speeding penalty. So most of these drivers behind are actually in front of him anyway. And Gabriel has no one around him. And is fighting for place against Robert, which is currently 18 seconds in terms of gap. So if Robert can, he needs to stay within the DS of Chris to extend that gap, because Gabriel now needs to use all of his resources to have pace, or yeah, basically create a gap by himself. And Tezik is still out. We are reaching the halfway point of lap 13 now, and these two are still going at it. Don't know why Robert decided to overtake, because he's on very low resources now. But these two are friends, if my information is correct, so expect them to be talking anyways. And there's now a double overtake on the second Mercedes driver of Solid Ninja Snake, as both Pedro and Tudor overtake him, but they themselves swap position because Tudor came out ahead of the Ferrari driver. And these two are fighting for what is currently P1, because anyone around them has time penalties. Two drivers ahead are on the hard tires who still need to stop. Let's give you this overview. Solid Ninja Snake himself needs to stop. And the front running guy in terms of a leader of the race is Tezik, who is still around these 18 seconds, and he's gonna have a major advantage if he can keep up with this pace. And I'm surprised he... And there's another 3-second time penalty. You can see again the time penalty gaps. And Robert is not gonna like this one. He should have charged his ears maybe. But I think they can pit now. Tesik has completed 14 laps and they're on the hards. Don't make it more difficult for you. And Robert is just gonna follow what I just tried to bring across. I'm leaving that gap open to leaders to see what kind of advantage that Overcut has as Max Duca puts in the fastest lap of the race. He's completely lost touch with the front guys. Despite being pitting with them, so I have no idea what happened after pit stop. And he's gonna be coming out way behind the leader of the race. As there's now Bernd trying to defend from Robert, and these two have been fighting ahead of the pit stops and now are back together. And you can see that Solid Ninja Snake is gonna be behind Tesik on your left hand side in the timing tower, because he's still pulling the gap. Let's see if he's gonna pit now. He's still going. He is still going. That smells like softs. He's extending that lead. He's extending that lead. We're going back to Pedro. Oh, both of the McLarens have swapped. This is just nightmare stuff. Pole position into P8 and P9 as Chris now is pitting as a response to Robert pitting, and he's just fighting what is currently P10 as there's a loss of car control for Bernd, who just lets Tobias by. But see, TUC, where the Haas just came out. Look at him go. He is 6 seconds ahead. Did Robert change his wing? What the hell happened there? I'm surprised. I'm so surprised how Tesik is still pulling time on Rising Moon. These mediums are crazy good. Can't really see anything from the perspective's point of view. 10 laps, surely you can go to softs now. What is your plan? Pit stop. Pit stop. On lap 15, and he is ahead of, in front of Solid Ninja. It's softs. Oh my god, Tesik is cooking here today. I'm putting this in big capital letters with a big exclamation mark onto my spreadsheet in front of me. Or my piece of paper. What a performance! Oh, don't get a time penalty. Don't get a time penalty. And he is now, with 10 laps remaining, fighting for a win. Where he not only has the freshest tire, not only does he have the softest tire, but he also 5 laps of an advantage, and now a safety guys came out because Karim has crashed the car. Crashed the car. Give me burn. Oh my god, he tapped the inside of turn 5. Inside wall of turn 5 and Karim is out, and that's a big sigh of relief because Tesik just pitted. Yes, obviously everyone else has the ability to pit now. They will have a soft tire that is a lap fresher, but Tesik is gonna have the most important advantage at track position. The safety car wasn't really at the most perfect timing for him, but he does not need to pit again, and everyone around him will pit surely, especially Solid Ninja Snake. Almost thinking he waited for this one. This is surely the performance to win this. Don't get enough. Don't get 3 warnings. Doesn't matter on how many you are currently. Okay, there's gonna be 13 seconds for Rising Moon, so that's certified 10-second wait time for the Mercedes crew as he's opting for mediums. And let's see what the rest of the field is doing. Soft for Pedro. Solar Ninja Snake has to wait. And that's mediums. Why is Robert staying out? We're gonna be at the back anyway. Softs for most of the other drivers. Chris staying out, Robert staying out. Pedro soft, Max Duca soft, Solar Ninja Snake soft, Burn and Tobias mediums. They do not trust the softs, and they are not knowing that the leader of the race, after extending his first stint to 16 laps, converted this one stop, and Tudor stayed out, Gabriel stayed out. This is gonna be a nightmare. He has all of these time penalties in his back anyway, but him getting involved in fights with a disadvantageous tire is not gonna be fun, I assume. I have seen in my own league a driver who pulled 2 restarts on hard tires that were older than 15 laps in a short space of time and still won the race. Because everyone on softer tires behind started to fight a lot and they got away. And none of them had time penalties. So there is still an opportunity, still a possibility to make this work. But in terms of the race win, this wasn't a move. Because everyone behind was gonna pit. Apart from the 2 ones who just did the 3 ones basically. And if he kept an eye on this, which he didn't need to, based on how the hard runners were completely out of his position, it was just gonna be fine. A reminder on time penalties, there's now everyone with 3 seconds, apart from Robert, who is 6. This is why I find a bit more baffling. He's on the less advantageous medium, that is currently the 3rd oldest in the field. Let's see. I hope for Tezik he's gonna make mincemeat off of Tudor at the restart and just gonna take it away, because he certainly put in the performance for a driver of the day. Let's look at this. Tudor 7 places up, had a horrible qualifying performance. Only one valid lap time was a really fast lap. Inside all of this trouble, Max Duca is actually the only driver who did not gain or lose a position. Most lost Karim. 1 loss for Rising Moon Burn. 3 also lost for Pedro. Gabriel 2. And for Gabriel, that does not tell the whole story, because he was down into 13 by the end of the first turn on the first lap. Buys up 2, but that is only the retirements. So the Ninja Snake up by 2. And all of these drivers are fighting for their position while having to navigate track limits for this insane and very intense final sprint to the finish with 7 laps to go at the start of the next one. Just gonna disable the timing toys so you can see the cars better. as we are restarting from the rear view of Tudor, and who has enabled an opportunity for Gabriel to take Tesik into the first turn, has not used any of these ES on the straight, which I find surprising. Does he also not know he turned it off? And Pedro is fighting Gabriel for P3 already. The only drivers without a time penalty as of right now are the top 4. So they are fighting for their final positions anyway. And I'm very well aware there are no time penalties due to penalty points coming to anyone, as Tesik is trying to take Tudor around the outside of 13. But the Aston Martin driver is fighting that fiercely to stay ahead of the gunning US American, who was finishing 3rd in China, was finishing 2nd in last week's Austrian Grand Prix, and now Gabriel is having an opportunity. And they are going side by side into 22. And there's another collision, and it's Rising Moon. And the World Championship leader is without a point at the end of this race, if he does not fight any more pace. Gabriel aggressive to the outside, Tesik to the inside of 27. Now there are 2 pairs of cars running side by side. You can see that Chris and Robert are chasing them down, and all of this battling without the help and assistance of DRS is gonna make them drain their batteries. Tesik into turn 1, leads the race at the start of lap 25. 6 to go, as Pedro has now finally overtaken Pedro. With the fresh soft tires, he should be able to make this work fast, and everyone is trying to get the car slowed down for that very important entry to the S section in turn 4. Max Zucker and Rising Moon into the pit lane. Horrible showing. Maybe another collision. Pedro is now looking to fight the Aston Martin for what is gonna be the 2nd Ferrari podium of the season, after Tobias took an astonishing and very surprising 2nd place in the Singapore Grand Prix earlier in the season at the halfway point. Pedro is looking to get one better over his teammate, and he wasn't racing for a couple of races. Missed Spain, was officially out for the season. No home Grand Prix for the Spanish driver on the Ferrari. Tesik takes the fastest lap of the race. To the defense to the inside. Pedro is looking to have the braking all sorted. ERS is low for everyone inside the top 3. Gabriel has quite a margin, and the rest... Oh, and there's a collision with the wall. Tudor's out. Tudor has poured out another safety car. He has smashed into the inside wall of turn 4. And now the race has been neutralized again, and this is not what he wanted. Not any one of us wanted. Please do not leave the session as you are the host. What a dramatic race to finish it off. As right now, safety car is waiting in the first sector as Rising Moon has passed that and will be getting a point. 2 high caliber drivers getting it all wrong here today, turn 4 and turn 5. Alcria Rodriguez goes Bern. And he has some work to do. Reminder of time penalties for you. Everyone except for Robert, who is known as Project Race GP, has 3-second time penalty. And that's why Bern is currently in 7th position. And I don't expect any of these drivers to make another pit stop. Gabriel could risk it, because he's gonna get these positions back anyway. But he's probably gonna be liking the Track position, and Robert is pulling in. Don't go too fast, please. He does not do it. And Tobias is in as well. I think they are watching their backs because the other Williams has opted to go for... Oh, there's a wing change. But not for the Ferrari? Or there was? No. He jumped him. Yeah, he did. So no front wing change for Tobias? Question? No. No front wing change. Okay, so new fresh soft tires for the Williams and the Ferrari, as the last two positions inside of this field have opted to go for new tires 2 laps before that. And there's really a sense of don't fuck it up now, because it's still good points, especially the top 3. Tudor will be furious at himself because everyone behind was having penalties, even with the tires that weren't in the best of frames for the working window. They were still good enough and would have been good enough to finish out the rest of this evening's race. I think we're gonna see another lap, so I'm just gonna give you an ad, and I need to have a quick pit stop myself. Commentators are humans too. And we are back for what is gonna be 2 more laps of racing. Yeah, Tudor, can see in your smile that it's a disappointing one. And you are certainly right for some frustration, because it looked like a very certain podium for you again. Because everyone, apart from the top 3, has 10 penalties, and your tires were better than the ones from Gabriel, so you smashed it, and you smashed it hard into the wall. I'm just gonna wait for them to enter sector 3. Tizik has everything in his control, everything to lose. At the same time, he needs to have a perfect start. That Saudi does not forgive you. Yeah, that's true. Last 2 checks are gonna be a bit more forgiving though. We are watching the cars going from the left hand side of your screen to the right hand side after this beautiful almost 180-degree bend. And as we are awaiting the restart, which Tizik needs to be getting right, and he has pulled the trigger already. And he needs to get this opening sector of the lap perfect. He needs to push on, and he has already opened the gap to 7 tenths. as everyone behind will start to opening fights. And Gabriel is already slowing the rest down, so it's basically giving Pedro and Tesik free range to better. And Solid Ninja Snake on these fresh soft tires is fighting Chris, who did not pit under the last safety car or the one before, to fresh soft tire, and he is losing out on the exit. And the Mercedes driver is now the leader of the group of the cars that does have a time penalty, and that would be his second best finish of the season after he took second in a very dramatic Chinese Grand Prix for him. Moving Tesik down, and Max Stuka is fighting the reigning world champion, and Gabriel has lost touch to the guys in front. And there's a bit of extra ES from Tesik. The first opportunity Pedro is going to get is into turn 22, when the second out of 3 detection zones for the DRS will come up, and he's breaking the toe, and the DRS is enabled for one final lap. Rising Moon takes the fastest lap of the race as he's going to fight the outside of turn 1, and there's another collision. Robert hits the back of Byrne, and the Brazilians are gonna not thank him for that, and he's gonna suffer probably a penalty from that. Byrne is now fighting the inside of 4, and Robert is fighting the outside. This is now the inside of, I think, 7, and Pedro has received a 3-second time penalty on the last lap. Does he have enough time to get away from Gabriel? I don't think so. Gabriel is gonna inherit second. Byrne and is fighting with Robert into turns 15 and 16, I think that is. And Tesik is gonna breathe a big sigh of relief. He only can fuck up it himself. I said it before, after a dominating stint where he put a lot of podiums in, he finished third once again in China. He finished second in Austria last time out. He is gonna finish first for the first time in this season, and it's a well-deserved one for the US American, who takes the win at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And Pedro had a good and very strong showing. He's gonna be demoted to third position as Gabriel takes a very unlikely second after being 13th at the end of the first turn on the opening lap. And there's gonna be a huge sigh of relief for Tesik, who said himself at the end of Austria that this was the only track where he really thought he had a chance to win it for the first time. And now he got the W. He got this first initial win finally done, and he is on the podium. I don't know why he's blurred a bit there. I do have to skip that because I want to see the final result. That is a very odd stance. Tesik wins for the first time in this season. Well, that was embarrassing, certainly. Gabriel, then Pedro. Chris in his debut, finishing 4th in front of Solid Ninja Snake. A lot of action going on. Tobias somehow is 6th. Max Stuka takes 7th. Rising Moon is in 8th. Byrne 9th. Robert takes 10th. And the only people not finishing, Tudor, Kaim, both having collisions in the segment of turns 4 and 5. And Aerodynamics quit after the opening stint, which is still baffling to me that he forgot to use his ES. We will be heading to a quick break and see what the drivers have to say about this one. Stay with us. We are back for some drivers' interviews after tonight's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and he almost predicted it himself. Tizik, that was certainly. Oh, hang on. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Alright, we are back for some drivers' interviews after tonight's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and you almost predicted it yourself, Tizik. You could only really think about a win at the end of the season in Saudi Arabia, and you did it. What a dominant drive. This strategy I was not expecting. I wasn't expecting anything out of what you maybe could have potentially teased at the end of the Austrian Grand Prix last time out. How was that race for you?
Oh my goodness. It was amazing, honestly. Like the the opening, lap one, uh I can't even think straight. I don't know which it was a McLaren, I forgot which one. But they made that terrible start and then it was just from there. I saw opportunity, we took it. We got in the lead before turn one and pretty much from there it was just like maximum pace. Just go, go, go. So we're pretty we're pretty on it the whole race.
Yeah, obviously, going into this race, a lot of fighting is always on the table, and you were looking at extending that lead and that stint on your medium tires when everyone behind you in that group, that was at that time a group of 4 guys, pitted, and you decided to stay out and go for the opposite tire of what all the other guys fitted, and that was the soft. Did you prepare for that, or were you just surprised that everyone opted for the medium hard today?
To be honest, I was actually surprised that they went medium hard. Uh, it worked out to my advantage because I was going to go medium soft regardless, and it just worked out. I noticed that the slipstream is pretty strong around here. I noticed I was getting time through the curviness of sector one. They probably had lower downforce setups, so I tried to get that gap out. Even that was hard, and so made a couple mistakes on my end, which got them closer. So then it was just pretty much trying to because I was on two penalty two warnings, so then it was trying to like go as fast as I could, but also not make a mistake. And then the safety cars came out, and I was kind of on the fence about it, but it turned out in my favor, so can't complain about it.
Obviously, when you have such a strong and advantageous strategy, and yeah, obviously coming out in 4th place after you pitted, most of the things, and I've done racing quite a lot of times myself, the nerves are kicking in, especially when there's a late safety car call, and then we had also another one at the end, and obviously with these 2 warnings you mentioned. What was the kind of initial feeling when the safety car popped up for the first time? Because obviously you went from going basically from the hunter to the hunted again, because if people stayed out, they would have a disadvantage, and it did hurt in the case Tudor for a good podium finish here today. So where were your nerves when going into that final stint?
Um, First safety car, I noticed once everyone had pitted, I was trying to look at who had the tires in front of me and behind me and any penalties. And I noticed the person in front of me had hards, and so the McLaren behind me also had hards. So I figured I had the pace on them. It was just getting past them as quickly as possible after the restart to try to get that gap out. And then what surprised me on that second safety car, I was wondering, calculating it when it's going to go in. I figured lap 24 we get 1 lap of racing, so from then just try to get a good restart, which actually we did, and then just like I said, just full pace. That was just the plan, really. Just go as fast as you can, and not get that last warning.
Certainly. Yeah, obviously, when I was talking to you about previous results and what that meant for the championship in terms of the drivers, because we were still talking about the fight with Kaim, who and his teammate have opted the qualifying pace a lot in the previous races, and how their results were also coming in strong. You have yourself only finished outside double-digit points 3 times in the season and only did not attend 1 race. Now, after having finally completed all 3 steps on the podium, what is the final target you want to or have set for the rest of the remainder of the season, with 2 more races in Saudi and Brazil coming up?
Yeah, with just pretty much the remainder of the season, just try and stay on the podium for the rest of the races. I guess since we seem to have the pace, but a lot of people in here are pretty quick, so they're keeping me honest. But yeah, definitely try to get more podiums and finish second in the championship will be pretty good too.
Okay, and in terms of track, what do you expect from yourself for Abu Dhabi?
Probably in the mud in Abu Dhabi. I'm not gonna lie. It's one of my least driven tracks, so don't expect much.
Okay, then I'm still excited to see what you can produce in 7 days' time. And congratulations again on the first win of this season. Well done.
Thank you.
We move on to what is third place at the end with a one last moment outing for Ferrari. Pedro came back after a short absence, and you have completed the podium on the third step, but you were in second place for what was the first part of the last lap. How gutted are you after this penalty that came in so late?
Well, first of all, congrats to Texas on an amazing race. And secondly, I'm just very happy to be on the podium because, after 1.5 months without even turning on my PS5, I just had that itch to play the game. I got it today. Yeah, I was happy with just having a fun race. Not only I had a fun race, but I also have a great pace. I managed to get a podium, which I hadn't done in many seasons. So yeah, very happy.
Yeah, obviously in the previous stint for Ferrari, you scored in Singapore with a good and strong race, as well as in Portugal, 12 and 13 points today. You add another 15 to that. Obviously, with so little points finishes, you can't really look at anything but maybe a bit of personal growth in terms of this. Do you expect to be back for any of the last two remaining races or for the next season?
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to race for the last two races. I won't be home. I come back for Christmas, but there's no races there. So, yeah, hopefully, if I can get a little bit lucky with work there on my new home, maybe I'll try to do my best to sign up because, yeah, the passion for the game is growing up on me, and I really want to race. I think that also showed up on the last couple of races that I've participated. I've got my best results all season, and I think if I could continue here, I think I could get some pretty good results. Maybe a target of top 5 on every race would have been realistic, but yeah, I'll just take this P3 and yeah.
Yeah, the only second podium of the season for Ferrari. One more critical point in the race was obviously the start where you got involved in collision with Gabriel. How was that from your side? Because it certainly looked from my perspective that Gabriel just closed the door on you. What was your initial reaction to that?
Yeah, so both Tefik and I got the better start than Gabriel. And I was we were both fully alongside going into turn 1. I had the inside, so I thought the car on the middle, which could see both cars on each side, would brake earlier, but he didn't. He braked super late. He tried to maintain the lead, and that just wasn't going to happen. I couldn't anticipate it. Luckily, I didn't get any damage. I know Gabriel spun, but I don't know what else if he got any damage. I think he didn't. But yeah, like 3 into 1 just doesn't go, and the car who has a full line of sight of both cars should maybe yield earlier. But I mean, at the end of the day, we both got a podium. Well, the top 3, the 3 cars that caused the incident got a podium. So I think, given what happened, we can all be pretty happy with the outcome today.
That is true, in fact. And yeah, obviously, as I said, you're not going to be here, so I'm just going to wish you the best of luck in the future and have a very nice Christmas if I don't speak to you before that.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you guys. Just want to wish you best of luck for the last 2 races. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Maybe on the next year.
Okay. Have a good one. Thank you. And we are now moving to our debutant for Haas, and that has been Chris. Yeah, Chris, obviously when going into the first race in an unknown territory, you always try to finish a race first and foremost, and after that obviously trying to finish in the points. With that result, if it just stands, you just 6-tupled your team's points in the Constructors World Championship. How do you feel after this race?
Yeah, to be honest, I did not expect to finish before. Obviously, it's my first race in this league, and generally after 2 years of not racing, the first race. So, yeah, I miss the feeling of racing with other people. But yeah, well, my goal today was to finish, of course. But seeing my pace on practice and the pace of the other people, I assumed that I could finish top 5, which I did, and I'm very happy with that. And yeah.
Yeah, obviously going into the first part of the race, you were on that alternative strategy with the hearts. You were fighting with your guy Robert there for the what was at the time second position to make the overcut work. And then, yeah, obviously the timing didn't work for you on the safety car. Just a lap or two would have maybe worked for you in your favor. And you also stayed out after both of the safety cars have passed. What kind of strategic approach did you take? Did you just wanted to play it cautious and not to worry about these drivers that seem to be faster at stages, and obviously with Tesik and Pedro on the soft tires? Yeah, you just try to maybe maintain the place, or what was your final game plan at the end there?
Selecting the hearts to start with, I knew the risk of having a safety car, which would not be in my favor, so I took it anyway. Obviously, the safety car did not help me at all, because I was on the fresh mediums when the safety car came out, and everyone behind me boxed for softs. So at that time, I was kind of thinking of going to softs as well, but then I just went for a track position, and then I tried to defend with what I had. And yeah, it's obviously when the second safety car started, the Ferrari was so much faster than me, so I just let him by because I didn't want to risk having a contact with him. And then on the final safety car, I think there was that Mercedes behind that overtook me, and then I played strategic with the ARS so I could deploy everything I had on the last straight and overtake him again, since we had 3 seconds, so it was a tight fight. So yeah.
Okay, and we have 2 more races to go. Next up is going to be in Abu Dhabi. What do you expect from this track for your personal performance there?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't driven much on the Abu Dhabi. It's not one of my favorite tracks, so I don't expect much, to be honest. I will see what I can do, though. I'm gonna try anyway.
Okay, wishing you the best of luck for that, and thank you for taking
Yeah,
my
thank you very much.
questions. See you.
Thank you very much.
This has been it for today's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, race 14 out of 16 for AOR's 28th season in Tier 1. And I hope you enjoyed this one. That was certainly one for the history books in this league. And very exciting to see Tesik finally take the W at the end of it. And if you want to see any of the previous races, including the first win for Cypher at Austria last time out, head to the other VODs on his channel. Make sure you leave a subscription if you want to see more, and especially the end of the season. Our championship, both of the championships has been already crowned, and we are just looking to get the best out of these drivers at the end. Razamoon had a shocking race today, and we were obviously not going to be focusing on him because everyone else had a story to tell, and Tesik just put the cherry on top of his for this season. Had plenty of podiums, as I said before. First, second place came last time out, and he has finally taken it to the top. We are probably treated to more race action on another very good and also very demanding track in Abu Dhabi. Revamped a couple of seasons ago, and has produced more and great racing with the removal of 2 chicane sections before the first straight at the end of the second straight. And obviously that last sector is going to be crucial again in terms of how you set up your car. And we are going to be back in 7 days' time for that race. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great start to your week. Enjoy the Black Week if you want to get new PSD stuff or just anything you've been saving for. And I hope you won't be saving for much more enjoyment and entertainment next week. And yeah, my name has been Hermann the German as always. See you around.